So recently I haven't been doing enough LB reaction to videos, and this guy's been doing quite a lot. So I've just decided to do some while I'm waiting for my parents in the car. So yeah, and I'm gonna do probably one of my favorite SCPs that isn't living, SCP-914 The Clockworks. So yeah, again, captions, boom. So yeah, let's do this. Wait, what? Oh, it's an advert. What the? Also, it's a 11-second lag unskippable ad. And that happened, and what is going on? Apparently there's a dog. I've learned there's a dog. This is sorry if the screen is sideways. Does this help? Probably won't help in any way. Oh, it's upside down. Sorry. It's either this or smaller. So yeah. There is way too much lag, I'm sure. But I'm stupid. Also, I can't go off. Oh, I can. I just need to click really carefully. I can't tell whether this is inappropriate, but I can't stop it. It's YouTube's fault. Don't blame me, it's YouTube. Captions. Wait, what? No, I need them. I physically need them. I literally physically need them. Stop doing that. I literally physically need captions. If I don't have captions, I can't do this video. Also, what the heck? What is that? Swine got? It was lagging, so I couldn't see the picture of it. It's literally a swine. It's literally a pig. The pig is a swine, if you're wondering. Facts with breakfast. Just need to click really carefully. Also, I'm not going to do 3166 or 1730 since I already... Oh wait, it started!
Down in the depths of Facility 23, a group of scientists stand before a massive rumbling piece of machinery. They all hold their breath as the gigantic mechanism suddenly stops. It's eerily quiet for a moment before a door slides open. The scientists crane their necks to see inside, to see what the result of their great experiment
What
was.
the? But
These were some of the greatest minds in the SCP Foundation, but nothing could prepare them for what they had created. September 9th, 2008 was an unseasonably frosty day when Dr. Charles Gears, one of the SCP Foundation's most iconic scientists, parked his heavy ship
oh yes, another one.
in an innocuous government cold storage warehouse.
There might be a part 2
He
to
thoughtfully
this.
surveyed the building, which he, along with about 100 others in total, knew to be Site 19, Facility 23. Why was Dr. Gears, former director of all Euclid-level containment at Site 19...
Only Euclid?
Because official testing was about to begin on SCP-914. The Foundation had acquired the machine now known as SCP-914 some time ago, but only after its recent reclassification to 914 had it been relocated to Facility 23. It must have been important, because the entirety of the facility was being repurposed for SCP-914 research.
I don't know what that was.
They were dealing with an immensely complicated piece of anomalous technology here, and the same question
Seriously?
was on everybody's lips. What exactly does this thing do?
It makes science better.
The facility director, had requested the cold, clinical assistance of Dr. Gears.
Can you help me?
Once he'd finished his morning coffee, Dr. Gears headed inside. The facility's security chief, Agent Alan Sedna, had been beefing up security at the building, and at least 2 mobile task force units were already on call in case anything happened. The first day of official testing is always a crapshoot. You might get a nice drink out of it, like with SCP-294, or you may get an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario. You never really know. All Dr. Gears
Probably the
paused
first
up
one
granite
and the
steps
second
to
one
the
combined, knowing
that he
914.
was already feeling exhausted. When you've dealt with anomalous objects and entities for decades on end, the sense of wonder and mystery begins to wear off, only to be replaced with a kind of tedium any
Hey,
office
look
worker
at the
never
guy from
falls in
055.
Everyone knew that
The
Dr.
really
Gears
fat
was
guy.
devoted to the job, perhaps more than anyone else, but he approached the job with an emotionless effect. You wouldn't know from looking at him if he was thinking about the deadly anomalous creature in the next room, or what he was going to have for lunch that evening.
It's happening. It's happening. Guys, it's happening. And girls. Creature in the next room. Well, what the? Oh, it's 2 adverts. I bet they're both on Skippo. Because of how stupid YouTube is. And annoying.
That day, the doctor passed through security.
I wouldn't be surprised if the devil owns YouTube.
Lucius Veritas, director of research at Site 19. He explained that the machine seemed to work in the absence of any power source. Its mechanical structure is similar to machinery from the Industrial Revolution, but it's exceedingly complex for something constructed in that time. Foundation analyses into the structure of the 914 pointed to as many as 8 million moving parts, and that might even be an incomplete estimate. Dr. Gears wore his trademark blank face as he listened, solemnly nodded, and asked to be shown the anomaly.
It was really
anomalous.
anomalous.
Chamber 109B by a pair of guards. According to all current Foundation tests, the machine doesn't appear to pose any active risk of containment breach or danger to the guards, earning it the rare safe designation. As a result, aside from guards stationed on site, containment procedures for 914 were minimal. Whether this designation would need to be changed after testing was something Dr. Gears would soon find out. SCP-914 was a truly impressive sight to behold. A giant clockwork mechanism taking up around 18 square feet, with an unfathomably complex combination of screw drives, belts, pulleys, springs.
I wouldn't be surprised if McCain really wanted to steal this and take it apart.
But comedy definitely wasn't one of Dr. Gears' specialties. He stared at the machine with a detached fascination, analyzing its vital components at a glance. Gears noted a large mainspring beneath a rudimentary selection panel. The panel is copper, with a large selection knob fixed to an arrow above a series of different options.
Rough, coarse, 1 to 1, fine and very fine.
There was also a large key below the selection panel, for the purposes of winding up the mainspring and initiating whatever procedure this machine was designed to enact. Next, Dr. Gears noticed 2 large booths connected to the machine by a pair of equally large copper tubes. The booth on the left labeled intake, and the right labeled output. Incredibly, Dr. Gears was able to immediately deduce the purpose of this machine. It was designed to enact some kind of transformative process on whatever was placed into the intake booth. But what kind of transformative process? That's exactly what Dr. Gears was here to
probably gonna put a D-class in it. It's either that or a keycard. Or literally any SCP. It makes me wonder where SCP-426... what would happen to SCP-426 if he entered... you know, the toaster? Or did he just become more faster at making toast? Good old toast. He's my favorite. I don't know why, I just really like toasters.
The experiment was simple. They would gather a series of samples, both inanimate objects and living tissue, and use them to explore the different permutations of the 914 machine's transformative abilities. This initial series of experiments were approved by O5 Command and the site director, and with the 47 researchers present in Facility 23 at his disposal, Dr. Gears commenced his research into SCP-914. To minimize risk, Dr. Gears decided the first test would be a simple kilogram of steel. On his orders, the steel was placed into the intake booth. With the doctor's approval, a junior researcher set the control panel setting to rough and began twisting the mainspring key, at which point the booth...
oh wow, those fingers are weird.
...inside chunk. The machine began to rumble. its 8 million working pieces churning into life.
8 million, that's a
Continued
lot.
like this for around 10 minutes before falling silent, at which point the output booth opened. What had once been a single lump of steel weighing 1 kilogram was now an uneven pile of smaller lumps, with evidence of laser.
The
Dr.
video,
Gears made
you know,
it
I'm not
clear
gonna
that
question
having
it.
lasers within such a machine is both anachronistic and anomalous, and that the rough setting appears to messily cleave the object placed within the intake booth into pieces. Dr. Gears also noted that it would
I mean,
be
more
unlikely
Ryan.
to test any
Because
kind
more
of
Ryan
explosive
armor.
material on the rough setting, unless, of course, they wanted to destroy the building.
Oh,
The research continued. Dr. Gears used another 1 kilogram lump of steel to test the one-to-one feature. This time, the result was far more peculiar. The output booth contained the exact same weight in steel screws. This result was sparking even greater connections in Dr. Gears' impressive analytical mind. Firstly, the one-to-one feature caused the 914 machine to transform the output into something different from, but similar to, the intake. And while this would require further testing, it appeared that the 914 machine, despite being anomalous, does still follow the laws of physics. Samples passed through the machine conserve their mass,
There's
and
already
could
an
now be
anomaly then.
transmuted on an atomic level from one element to another. Next, Dr. Gears pushed another lump of steel through the machine on the fine setting.
They
The
forgot
result
coarse.
this time was a kilogram of steel carpet tacks. From this, Dr. Gears was able to ascertain that the fine feature improves the samples placed within the intake booth somewhat. However, things got even stranger.
Oh, come on. Bet it's a stupid advert.
When Gears performed the same experiment on the
Never
very
mind.
fine setting. The output booth provided several unknown gases and a lump of unknown metal with anomalous qualities. Namely, it was resistant to heat up to 50,000 degrees, impossible to bend or break with any force, and was a perfect conductor of electricity. Dr. Gears suddenly realized
Yeah,
his
okay,
task
me,
here may be more interesting than he'd initially
me and my
imagined.
class learned
With that
about,
a bit of a smile on his face,
was that,
one researcher spotted.
like, I think
Sure,
last week?
this
No,
was the
no,
famous
this week.
unflappable Dr. Gears,
Was
after
it?
all.
I
The
don't
doctor
remember.
decided to take it up a notch and began to test more complex items in the 914 machine.
Oh no. Oh no. No. Oh, 32% battery. No. No lag. Please. No. No, it's a green rectangle. Oh, like, cuboid? No. Cu- You know, like that rectangle that's also a cube? Also, I had a cookie. Oh, I still have part left. Hell yeah.
Get a gift card worth up to £100 on selected monthly
No.
plans at idmobile.co.uk.
Also, I remember watching a video about 914 where a man said he created the god, but it was actually
He
just
removed his own
wait,
wristwatch
hold
and
on.
placed it into the input booth,
I'll tell you later.
setting the machine to course and letting her rip. Literally, in this case. When the output booth was opened, the watch had been painstakingly disassembled into its component parts, with no damage to said parts. Dr. Gears noted the coarse feature as a more mild version of the rough, in the sense that it was able to take an object apart without any kind of fundamental damage. He also made note of the fact he'd need to get himself a new watch. Dr. Gears then asked one of the researchers to surrender their cell phone for testing. While none were excited at the prospect of their phone getting eviscerated by a clockwork behemoth, one of the researchers eventually surrendered their BlackBerry Curve to the doctor. He placed it into the intake booth on the 1-to-1 setting, and 10 minutes later, the output booth released a brand new Apple iPhone. Sadly for the researcher who donated his BlackBerry, he wasn't allowed to keep the new device. Naturally, Dr. Gears was interested in trying out the anomalous, very fine setting on a more complex object. Seeing as no other researchers were eager to hand over their personal effects, he took a Colt Python revolver from a member of security and ran that through the machine on very fine. The result was an extremely powerful energy weapon containing gamma radiation, which fired a beam capable of disintegrating anything in its path. While the weapon's power was immense, it was also too dangerous and unstable to be added to the Foundation's armory for general use. Having collected a wealth of data from more complex
Sorry
objects,
if it's a bit dark.
Dr. Gears was eager to move to the next stage, live. While his fellow researchers had some reservations, the experiments pushed on, beginning with mice. A single white mouse was put into the intake booth on the 1-to-1 setting, and the machine was activated. The result 5 minutes later was an almost identical creature, save for the fact that it now had brown fur. Encouraged by the fact that the mouse survived the refinery process, Dr. Gears next applied for the use of 2 chimps in his SCP-914 experiments. The first chimp was run through the machine on the fine setting. The result was a chimp of human-level intelligence, who has since begun working for the Foundation under the alias Dr. Bobo.
Dr. Bo! He's a freaking monkey!
The second primate test, was not quite as positive. The chimp was dismembered, with the mutilated corpse showing evidence of cutting from high heat and crushing. Of course, everyone knew where these tests were eventually going. Dr. Gears requested 2 members of D-Class personnel for testing. The first was a 42-year-old Caucasian male weighing 108 kilograms and standing 185 centimeters tall.
But he looks fat.
Through SCP-914 on the 1-to-1 setting, resulting in a slightly taller Hispanic man with a slightly lower body weight. He immediately became severely confused and agitated, and attempted to attack the guards present, leading to his unfortunate termination by Foundation staff. It was on the final live test that tragedy truly struck. A 28-year-old Caucasian male was run through the machine on the highly anomalous, very fine setting.
I wouldn't be surprised if that creates 096.
So horrifying that the majority of the details on its physical appearance have been expunged from the report. The creature made a sudden escape, breaching the relatively minor containment procedures intended for the inert SCP-914. This highly dangerous creature killed 8 guards, as well as 2 senior researchers upon emerging from the output booth. A special response team was dispatched to take the creature down, but that proved harder than expected. SCP-914 had massively improved upon the human original, especially when it came to its killing ability. Eventually, it was captured, but the special response team suffered injuries and memory loss as a result of the creature's anomalous powers. The creature was also severely wounded, and its blood caused corrosive damage to the plumbing in Facility 23. The creature expired from its injuries several hours later, turning into a cloud of blue ash that blinded a nearby research team. Dr. Gears would later comment that the experiments were ultimately still a success, in spite of some minor hiccups.
Hiccup.
The device continues to this day in an effort to understand the full potential of the machine.
This might be the only
Though for
one
obvious reasons,
today.
biological
I'm
testing of the
sorry.
machine has since
Just
been
too scared about my
without
parents.
direct authorization from OFAC.
And they'll find out while I'm
After
watching.
all, if an already dangerous SCP was ever subjected to the very fine transformation setting, we could be dealing with something.
I think they have.